They didn't even try to hide it, they just said it. Girl, you have cancer.
I was stroking my hair and realized it was coming out of my hand. Well, I thought maybe I imagined it. And in the evening, I was taking a shower, I bent my head down and couldn't lift it until all my hair had fallen out.
My dad also said, if you keep whining, I'll shave my head too. I said, Daddy, please don't shave your head, it won't suit you.
My neck was just gone. I just had my head and shoulders like this. I had terrible swelling.
For 6 months, I had terrible back pain. Closer to night, you go to bed and realize that's it. The lymph node on the left side of my neck became enlarged. Unfortunately, the doctors at the city clinics didn't pay attention to that either. My left side was hurting. I thought it was something gynecological. Unfortunately, the gynecologists couldn't help either and didn't see anything. Unfortunately, everything was missed. It wasn't until I went for a magnetic resonance imaging just on my own initiative. That's where everything became clear. They diagnosed me with stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma with metastases in my lungs, bones, lymph nodes, and mediastinum. To put it simply, the only healthy part of my body was the lower part of my legs.
We were sitting in class. Coincidentally, our topic was about Chernobyl. And they were showing those people with swollen necks, and I touched my neck, and I had some huge lump there. Of course, we all wash our necks often. So, for example, it would have been impossible not to notice it. Yesterday, I got worried, told my classmates, and they giggled. Oh, you're just imagining things. You saw it, started overthinking, and then found it on yourself. Then I thought, no, I'll go see a doctor. I went to the doctor and they sent me to an ear, nose, and throat specialist. Well, yes, they said it was some kind of growth that shouldn't be there. They said it needed removal, but there was still no clear diagnosis. So there was always a question mark that maybe it was cancer, but nobody knew for sure. I had surgery. A week later, the histology results showed cancer, and they said I needed another surgery.
Absolutely by chance. Occasionally, I experienced stomach pain. And then one fine day, I was really feeling unwell. I had another one of those episodes. I was already starting to get used to it, and for some reason it didn't occur to me that maybe this wasn't normal, and then I was taken to the hospital and had emergency surgery. For standard surgery, they always take tissue for a biopsy and send it for analysis. That's what happened with mine too. A month later, I got an urgent call from the clinic where I didn't even really have a medical record. And I had to do more tests to confirm or rule out something since the doctors were worried about my poor results. Unfortunately, yes, these tests showed that the results weren't very good. My diagnosis was gynecological cancer and the stage was 1C.
I had a tumor, it appeared on my neck. I was sent to an endocrinologist where they ran tests and a biopsy and found it. They didn't try to hide it. They told me, girl, you have cancer and need urgent surgery because there's no more time. I went to the doctor late because the tumor was already visible. They said it was actually good that it surfaced. If it had been inside, I wouldn't have known and it would have been too late.
They told me the diagnosis. I withdrew into myself for a short while. I came home, lay down on the bed and burst into tears, and I cried for 40 minutes. Then I got up, looked at my son and said, no, you won't get me that easily. And then everything started. A complete revolution happened in my mind. You reevaluate your whole life so much, and there's so much love. At that moment, so much love appears that you just want to live. Without paying attention to things like wealth, cars, or apartments, all of that material value just loses its meaning.
Well, I'm just a stress-resistant person. I didn't have any reaction at all because, first of all, there's no point in panicking. Nothing is really known for sure yet, and even if you do know, so what? You still can't change anything, you can only take some actions. So I reacted to all of this quite calmly, which surprised those around me.
Maybe it's some kind of self-defense mechanism in the body, and it's like, no, this isn't cancer, everything's fine, we'll get better now, everything will be okay. I can't say that I really felt something terrible or frightening, or that I was in a fever.
At 24, when you're diagnosed with cancer, it's not exactly pleasant. You immediately start thinking about the worst, like that's it, it's over, everything is lost already. I was really scared.
Physically, it's exhausting. I wouldn't call it painful, I just can't describe what it's like to feel nauseous for 9 months. Cancer feels endless, like intense morning sickness, but without expecting a baby. Morally, it's scary. It's not painful, it's scary. It's scary to be separated from your family, scary that everything will end, scary that you didn't have time for something.
Well, to say that it was pain? No, because you don't even know that something is growing inside you. And when the treatment starts, of course, it's painful and the recovery is painful. But the cancer itself, no, I think you can even go without noticing it.
Physically, no. Morally, yes. It's very hard to admit your weakness in front of it. A PhD started treating my illness. At that moment, when there was no hope left, and the doctors understood that this was already that kind of case, after all, there were a lot of metastases, she was the only one who believed in me along with me. And then, after 10 minutes of silence, when we gathered in the office, there were a lot of people, medical professionals. She asked, "Do you want to live?" I replied, "How?" "Well, yes. I have a son. He was 4 years old at that time." She closed her notebook and then told them to admit me to the ward. That was the happiest moment. Since Hodgkin's lymphoma is inoperable, they used only intravenous chemotherapy drugs for treatment. I spent 3 weeks in the hospital and then recovered at home for 10 days. This cycle repeated for 8 months. Unfortunately, there was no result for half a year. They decided to send me for a bone marrow transplant. They transplanted my own bone marrow cells. They didn't take the first time. There were 3 attempts, but everything worked out. I'm so happy.
They did the surgery, and I stayed there for another week. I actually started having complications because the incision became inflamed. They must have brought in an infection or something. I had a fever near 40 and an abscess. They opened the incision, cleaned it, and then stitched it up again. It was really terrible.
During the first surgery, they removed my entire thyroid and all the nearby lymph nodes. And in the second surgery, they removed more from the upper area. The scar, the incision was a little higher. And there they removed everything else so that the cells wouldn't spread further through the lymph nodes. And then there was another stage of treatment where they give you radioactive iodine.
Cancer itself, specifically in all these gynecological processes, is quite an aggressive form. Why was time measured in weeks? Surgery was urgent, since waiting a month could mean returning at stage 4. After that, chemotherapy is prescribed and treatment options and medications are chosen. So in general, my doctor, whom I completely trusted throughout my entire treatment, prescribed 6 courses of chemotherapy for me.
It's no secret to anyone that recovery after surgery is terrible, especially when your neck has been cut, and twice at that. My neck was just gone. I just had my head and shoulders like this. I had terrible swelling.
During chemotherapy, of course, it's hard on the body. There's terrible nausea, endless diarrhea, and the feeling that the floor is floating. You feel, I don't know, just like an amoeba.
The treatment itself is, of course, absolute hell. They perform procedures and intravenous drips. You come in for a day, recover for 3 weeks, then repeat the process. By the end of the 3rd week, you basically start to feel okay again. I spent a week unable to do anything, not even leaving bed or the house. I felt awful, constantly nauseous from everything, smells, the sight of food, basically from everything. After my first chemo round, my hair fell out just 2 weeks later. Suddenly, all my eyelashes and eyebrows started falling out.
My hair started falling out after the 2nd round of chemotherapy. It happened unexpectedly. I was talking on the phone, running my hand through my hair, and realized that it was coming out in my hand. Well, I thought I was imagining it. And in the evening, I was taking a shower, bent my head down, and couldn't lift it until all my hair had fallen out. In just one shower. And when I came out of the bathroom, I was already a different person.
We actually had a lot of funny moments during my treatment with all my loved ones, with friends. We laughed a lot. I'm quite a self-ironic person myself, and I was always joking about how much hair I had left. And every day I wondered whether I should wear my hair down or put it in a ponytail when there were just 3 strands sticking out. I remember when my friend shaved his head. First he shaved mine, and then a couple of days later, he shaved his own. My dad says if I keep whining, he'll shave his head too. I tell him, please don't, Daddy, it won't look good on you.
When my relatives came to the hospital to visit me in Yarek, Yaroslav was 4.5 years old at that time. At his age, I heard such awareness when he said, Mom, I love you. It's something special. There was so much faith coming from him. He really encouraged me.
I work with children, and of course we had some very touching stories when my kids started to understand what was happening. Many of them asked their parents. The parents had to carefully explain what was happening, and everyone understood that it could end in different ways. And in general, mothers would send me photos of how my kids wrote in their New Year's notes, wishing for Anya to be healthy.
Just having people around helped, without needing to speak. Someone, a stranger, held your hand and hugged you silently. That's better than any other support. And some words, I think, are all a bit superficial because no one really understands what you're going through. I mean, someone might guess, but they can't really feel it.
Yes, I think about it sometimes, but I hope that, well, it's fine. I think everyone considers this, even those who haven't experienced it.
I'm afraid that the cancer might come back. I'm scared because nothing has really been fully studied yet. No one can say for sure what will happen next. Every 6 months, you need to go for a checkup to make sure everything is okay.
Of course, I was happy when I found out I had 0% cancer cells. But I still have a little fear whenever something feels wrong in my body. Of course, I tried to push those thoughts away, but I think it's impossible to get rid of them completely.
No, I'm not afraid. I believe that by now I've already been through fire, water, and the toughest trials. Well, they won't scare me anymore. But I haven't heard a clear phrase like, that's it, we've won. But that's how it is in my head.
People who learn I had cancer, am missing an organ, and have a disability often say, but you're fine, you look good, you have your arms and legs. I mean, there aren't any obvious physical signs, none at all. But life before and life after are completely different lives. Before cancer, I don't think I ever got sick at all. I was the healthiest child on earth. My colds would go away in 2 days. Now, if someone suddenly sneezes on me in the subway, that means 3 weeks of illness, runny nose, fever, and a sore red throat for me.
Before, I used to feel so cheerful and energetic. Now I feel weak, tired easily, and have severe shortness of breath. And for example, running or doing any kind of sports is already out of the question because, well, I just don't have the strength for it. Any illness that's related to the immune system, it immediately gets to me.
Yes, after the illness, my life changed drastically. It's my attitude toward life itself, my attitude toward my own time. You already understand that for each of us, it can be limited and you want to make the most of it. You want to use as much of it as possible. In the presence of my loved ones, surrounded by my loved ones, I became just panic-stricken and anxious. Not for myself again, but yes, for my loved ones. I ensure everyone gets checked, stays alert, is monitored, and has doctor appointments. Well, of course, because you realize that it's very easy to lose a loved one, very easy, and often even because of something silly.
Life was split into before and after. Before the illness, I was a selfish, hysterical person. My mindset has changed completely. I see the world with different eyes. I have different values and a different attitude, first and foremost, towards myself. Honestly, I'll say I'm very glad. I'm truly happy that this happened to me. That I went through such an enormous experience. I just felt strength within myself. I'm sure that difficulties won't break me. And to appreciate life, we only have one, and it's so wonderful. Honestly, it's really great to be alive.